it'll be going just to there. So no worries. But if you wanted to not be seen elsewhere.
Cool. You want to give some quick intro, Dave?
Yeah, I'm just clicking one more time to find this live on Facebook here, and then we'll get her going.
We're going to be running this for roughly an hour, so till right about 7 o'clock, and then we're probably going to wrap at that point.
I think we are good to go. I'm seeing two Travises, so I think I'm okay. Yeah. So like we kind of briefly mentioned, me and Travis are here in New York City. Like we've hinted, we've been passive before in real estate. We've invested in multifamily deals ourselves. We think that's a great way to learn, but we've also, a couple of young, hungry guys have the goal to build their own systems out, and kind of like we were hinting with Ari, scale and be active and operators in the space. So me and Travis started David and Travis Capital Group. We kept it real tricky, hard to find. But yeah, this has just been, an iterative process for us. We have our first deal under contract closed recently, 64 units in North Carolina. Like I say, the process improves every day. So, the last year or so, we've been really focusing on making the right connections, making sure we're adding value to as many people as we can, going to all the conferences that we can. Thank God that COVID kind of has settled down and everything's opened up a little bit as far as being able to safely meet everybody. Really just pushing relationships and on the back end, like we were kind of mentioning, just working on things that helps you systematically, kind of move forward without, without having to repeat stuff and just trying to make it so the business works for you and not the other way around. So I don't know. Did I miss anything there, Trev?
Oh, I think that's a pretty good way to start it. I'll give a quick background on myself, and then we can just talk about a little bit of the strategy that we're using today to raise capital, and hopefully some ideas that you guys can benefit from. So I am Travis Eggenberg, I'm the principal here at David and Travis Capital Group. I am a commercial real estate professional in New York City. So I like to say I make my money in New York City and I bring it into the States where they actually appreciate landlords. So I'm all in on real estate, absolutely love the game. And yeah, Dave and I just have an awesome partnership. He is incredible at all the stuff I suck at, which is a lot. So
Right back at you, buddy.
just looking to amass a lot of really good quality real estate with good quality people. Like the team is the most important thing. And that's what you'll come to realize if you start to get heavily involved in the business. Who you surround yourself with is everything. So we try to surround ourselves with people that we really enjoy working with. So it's been amazing so far. And we will kind of kick into some of the things, like a little bit of our system, like how we approach the market and how we, aim to raise a lot of capital and secure a lot of real estate. So one thing that we like to focus on is conferences. So that's probably the best way to get yourself acclimated to, real players in the game and real opportunities to invest in. So we're actually going to a conference in Sarasota, Florida at the end of the month here into early April. And the whole mission there is to continue to meet amazing people and find good deal flow. And as I kind of hinted on before too, having our newsletter and a regular routine email strategy is super important. Email may seem kind of antiquated today, but it is really an important facet to raising capital. And yeah, we try to funnel as many people as we can to our newsletter and let people know about the stuff we're working on. So not sure if I missed anything there, Dave, but we could kind of talk about where we're at in our business right now.
No, I think you're good. Yeah, I think we covered it. I think everybody, maybe I scared people with the going live thing, but if you're not talking, it's not going to show up on the video. So if anyone, wants to turn their camera on or their mic on or whatever to chime in, obviously this doesn't have to be a one-sided thing for an hour. But yeah, what did you just say that kind of triggered something in my head? I guess your focus on um, the systems. Saw our friend Rob Travis. He posted this thing about his second deal that he raised for on LinkedIn. Rob Beardsley is a friend of ours that does some deals in Houston. And he said he had more trouble raising for his second deal than his first, and I found that like super, super interesting. And he was pretty much kind of like opposite to us, like almost hyper focused on the operations and deal closing and not on the networking for the capital raising. And he thought the thesis of like if you have the good deal, money will follow, and he just fell flat on his face and had to bring in a bunch of people to kind of save the day at the end for what was a good deal. I think he said it was like 25% IRR at the sale or whatever. Obviously the market helps, but I found that like very interesting because a lot of people think it's like the first deal and then you're good to go. But yeah, it's just like forever a kind of improvement and something you got to work on, especially if you're going to scale. I mean, you can do smaller deals and kind of piece together your own capital, but if you want to go big and fast, you gotta bring in others. It's definitely a team sport. So
100%. Ari asked a good question here. Do you guys use text alerts for deals?
not yet. Right now, we are solely on email blasts, and I would say what like most of our deals, Travis, are going to be 506B deals. So for those who don't know, in syndications, B is for buddy and 506C is for kind of advertised deals. So all of our deals are pretty much sent to our investor list who we already have relationships with. So I guess the answer to that is no. Only because when we send out these emails, we also send a lot of good information of the deal. It's not something you can really capture in an email. Maybe do we give like a close circle of our friend group a heads up, maybe, like that might happen just on a kind of individual basis. Like, hey, I know you've been looking, we got a good one coming up, just stay tuned. But as far as like info on the deal, yeah, I would say it's just email right now.
We know one person who is super successful with the text alerts. Like Ed does text alerts like crazy.
Yeah, maybe that's something we can bring him on for one of these days.
Good. Yeah, that's actually smart. We should bring Ed on. Let's do that for the next one.
Yeah, it's it's just to me it's like number of times you can contact. There's a amount you can over contact, but being top of mind through email or like even text, which I don't have sorted out. I don't even know, the cost or the tech behind it, which usually is my forte. But I don't really know the details there. But yeah, it's probably a good avenue. Definitely something to consider.
What about you, Ari? Have you used text before successfully?
I have yet to use it in this business. I totally agree with what Dave said. You don't want to abuse it because you kind of lessen your credibility, right? And you don't want to chase money. You want money to chase you, right? So
Absolutely.
if the goal is just to alert, that's the sole purpose. Having said that, in a prior business, they do have text campaigns and text strip campaigns, but that could backfire certainly in this venture.
For sure. What
Just
we
kind of
like,
curious, yeah. So
really like Facebook and LinkedIn. Like anytime we close on a deal, anytime we buy something or sell something, we kind of tout it out so that our friends and family know what we're doing and that people could kind of see our track record. So I think that's one important facet of raising capital too, just having everybody know what you're doing. Because then it'll rise like very, very organically in conversation. If you like catch some friends that see your Facebook posts, they'll say like, hey, I see what you're doing over here. How's that going? And then you just never know who's going to be interested. It could take 5 to 10 years before somebody actually gets into one of your deals. But if you have enough iterations, if you have enough volume, that'll kind of take care of itself and you'll be able to raise as much capital as you want. So I think social media is super, super important. It's a
Yeah,
huge,
yeah, it's like the push versus pull campaign, right? Like you can't just like cram it down someone's neck and expect to pressure them into like investing with you, but just the presence and eventually letting them take the first move is how it works out 99% of the time. You're not gonna rush anybody into wanting to do business with you. It's just a matter of them getting to like know and trust, and that just takes time.
right,
sure.
yeah, and just like in sales, right, you need an average of 6, 7, 8, 10 touches for even anyone to even respond, right? So you definitely need those touch points prior to even having a conversation sometimes.
Yeah, and you're talking, minimum usually 25 or 50K checks for investing in these deals, and you're talking it's sometimes way more touches than that because first they got to see the touches to even know that you're in the business, and then they got to see the types of deals that you do, and it's just like layers upon layers just to get the ball rolling. So yeah, it's just nothing about like foundation work, just kind of keep layering the pieces, kind of like you're saying.
And I heard you guys mention that you're mostly 506B. Um, if you were to do 506C, or if you kind of wanted to get more accredited investors, what offline strategies have you guys tried? Any offline strategies? Just curious to hear about that.
Offline, as in like not on like in person, you're saying?
Not on social media or internet.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, other than networking, just at these conferences, I mean, we hit, once they started to come back, these conferences, we hit like 3 in 1 quarter. They cooled off like for the holidays. Now they're kind of ramping back up again. That's kind of the biggest interaction you can get. That just sets the bar, high enough that everyone there is kind of channeling to the rowing the same boat in the same direction. So, you can obviously speak up about your business at any time, let everyone know around you what you're doing. That is obviously like the given, but active participation in the conferences that everyone there is going to be doing the same thing or interested in. It's a lot
Right.
easier to talk to somebody when you're already in the space, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
But we
Well, I'm just
also,
wondering because I know sometimes people go to, golf clubs or yacht clubs or whatever, recreational events. And, maybe that's not the best pool, and certainly others are the best pool, but there may not be that, as you kind of alluded to, that relatability. And so, or even like you said, even that same direction. So just kind of curious to hear about that. But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, obviously you want to be in a pool that everyone's kind of looking for the same thing. So
although you could kind of keep it very organic too. Like if you have like a specific hobby, like if you like to play basketball or work out or like go bowling, just regular everyday activities and just let people know what you do.
right.
We haven't like actively gone down to like a yacht club because I'm just not much of a yachter. And I just want to make sure I'm like being very genuine. It would be like weird for me to be like, I don't play whatever golf. A lot of people do. I don't. I would embarrass myself.
Especially out there in New York, all kinds of yachts.
But like I've met potential investors working out at the gym. I've met investors just through like playing basketball, and I've just met investors through just like regular like parties, just hanging out with my friends. So you never know where you're gonna meet a good investor, but I think it's just best to do like activities that you enjoy. But I see what you're saying, like thinking just like a little differently on how to go to the place where you'll have like a really good investor pool. That's actually a very good intentional strategy. Like, do you go to like a dental conference or like a doctor's conference and go to a place where people could really use depreciation and alleviation of any of their tax burden? Like, it's
Right.
probably not a bad idea.
Yeah,
Maybe-
and I find that I mean, it's a great idea, but in reality or practice, what happens is you just come off as a pitchman or like, so you got to be very careful about that. Like, okay, here's someone else talking about, talking to a group of dentists or doctors, right? And so, especially if you're not a doctor or dentist yourself.
Totally. Like I actually very much agree. Like an idea that me and Dave toyed around with is like going to some like tech conferences or like some NFT places where we know
Right.
people may have made a lot of money off like crypto and they really want to diversify their portfolio. That could be like one thing. Also, like as Dave touched on, we do host a monthly in-person meeting as well. So we like to make sure that we're exposing ourselves like on something like this, and then definitely in person, especially being in New York City where there is so much capital. We find that that's been pretty productive. We've been able to raise a couple 100,000 just through like meetups.
And I think like kind of getting there. I think everyone like in their own weird way has like their unique advantage, whether it's like for a certain part of the business, but even just capital raising specifically. Like we're in New York City, there's a lot of high net worth investors here. We talked to some landlords who are interested, but I think like everybody has that kind of position somehow, some way, whether it's your 9 to 5 background, there's kind of high dollar earners through that, or you have like a friend that maybe is an investor, or like kind of like through a friend, like a huge group of people. It's really just like kind of one connection away sometimes from kind of the floodgates opening up. So to me, it's like kind of think through that, like where, if you were to like start to tap into like your kind of more personal network capital, like where would that come from first? what's in your backyard already before you go out like super far away and do whatever. I mean, every corner helps, but sometimes there's easier answers right in front of you. So
And just to kind of touch on that, like I think a good mindset to have is like we were speaking about, you don't want to be like a pitch man. Like I think that's not like a position you want to be in. It's more like I'm here to provide you value. And like we know firsthand, like when we're in a deal, like it's amazing to get a check every month. It's amazing to get a check every quarter. And it's good when a property sells and you get like a windfall of money. So like I'm always of the mindset when I share an idea with someone, I'm like, hey, I'm putting my own capital into this deal. I think it's absolutely incredible. So I'd love to offer this opportunity to invest in this as well. I think that's a really good mindset is I'm never taking, I'm only giving value. I think that's just a really good mind shift and a good place to like kind of start out for everyone if you're thinking about raising capital. Always providing value, never.
yeah, it's not like like trying to pull a quick one is it's like literally like first off like our mantra is like we're always putting in capital on the deal ourselves too, so kind of skin in the game. Yeah, it's not like we're trying to pull a fast one or pull one over on people. Like we believe as much. I mean, you got to look through hundreds of deals just to get one, so we believe wholeheartedly in the one that we're trying to close. So there's no ill intention surrounding it whatsoever. um, but yeah, guys. Who else? Not to like discredit Ali because he's got great questions, but I'd love to see some more participation if there's others that want to kind of sign up and maybe talk about what they've been going through or if they have any questions. We do have 10 people on, so we try to make it so everybody gets a fair shake if they want. I mean, if not, we can keep rambling, but eventually I'm gonna run out of words. It's 6:20 for me. I'm sure some of you got it earlier, like Ali, but yeah, it's for the early start for me. It gets to be pretty late.
Yeah, if nobody has much, me and Dave continue to kind of like kick around some of the stuff that we do, just kind of give you guys a vantage point of what a burgeoning real estate syndication company looks like. Okay, we can kick into that.
Yeah, where do you want to go? You want to start a certain avenue of what we're working on, or what?
Through like first principles, it's like very important to build the business around like, you know, who we are. It's important. Like not every system works for every kind of group or every kind of person. Let's see, what system do we use for sourcing deals from Marcus? You could want to start on that, Dave?
Yeah, so we focus on, I would call it like two buckets of deal flow. We ourselves, as far as sourcing the deal, originating it from primarily brokers, we look in Florida, specifically Orlando. Um, the market is in the, holistically in the US, just like pretty competitive right now. So we found really narrowing down and owning, literally just one market. You can do a couple maybe, but being like the expert in one backyard is by far and away the only way, in our opinion, you're going to be able to close something these days. You have to be very quick, very sure of the numbers, and very professional with these brokers because they have literally dozens of people, dozens of groups putting in offers on these deals. So we pick Orlando. We focus on that when we're underwriting, originating the deals. But we also work very hard with our network to grow relationships with other operators that essentially do the same thing in other markets. Depending on the deal and all these other criteria, if our kind of co-GPs bring us this deal in any kind of good market, we'll consider it. Like the deal we just closed is in North Carolina, in Salisbury, which is kind of like an up and coming market in North Carolina between a couple of major metros. So as long as it's in a market we like with people we like, obviously that's kind of the big two things. We'll definitely kind of look for it, and that's helped us a lot as far as like deal flow goes, because it's a lot of deals lately to have to look at just to get the winner. It used to be like 100 to 200 deals, and when I say that, it's not like you're underwriting every single one, but you got to look at them. Now it's probably like 200 or 300 to get the one, so it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
let's
Um,
see. Is there an underwriting platform you guys would recommend? There's a couple. I have one that I made, which um, is kind of tailored to like my own needs. Probably not like super shareable just because of the way I have it set up. One that I use sometimes, which is popular, is Rob Beardsley's. It's kind of spelled phonetically Beardsley. He's got a nice one. It's for free. You can download that. I've used that in the past. Michael Blanc, Blank, also has one, and I can type some names in here. But those are a couple that like people tend to flock to. And then there's also some paid ones which are good too, but you just got to make sure you like the style. To me, the sheet is only as good as you are. You have to kind of know what the cells do, know basically what is happening when you change a cell, how it affects the pro forma, how it affects everything. I mean, if you haven't made the sheet yourself, you got to really just pick apart at what's going on behind the kind of math there. But I'll type in a couple names of the sheets that are popular. I don't necessarily always use them, but they're pretty popular.
And then I see Dave Marcus also asked, how do you find off-market deals, if any? We would say the bulk of our deals are on market. We tend to focus on 100 plus units, and we find that sellers will tend to hire a brokerage to represent them in that transaction to get the highest possible price. So we don't really source off market. We don't really think it's conducive to our strategy, but we know people that send out mailers or they'll just cold call owners. That can work for more of like a mom and pop under 50 units. That's definitely a good strategy. But kind of as Dave touched on before, system wise, we just stay in front of brokers. We email. I'm a broker in New York City, so I know what these guys want. They want a group that can close ultimately. So we have a really good broker network of people that are always sending us deals. We always have a ton of deals in our inbox, and we're kind of at the point where we have like a little bit of a bottleneck. And the next thing we need to solve is how do we flow through all these deals in a very, very efficient manner so that we could put forth offers on things that make sense. So we've kind of have a good problem on our hands. But brokerage, getting in touch with brokers is everything. Brokers will make you rich. You just have to treat them right, be very responsive, and be super professional, and talk the right language. Very important to speak the language with the brokers. If they could tell that you're an amateur, they're not gonna take you seriously, and you're not gonna be able to take down a deal. You're gonna slow yourself down. So you got to definitely, it's a multi-tiered process. Everything is, but in order to get deals, you have to talk to brokers, and you have to talk the right way to brokers. So that's a super, super important thing.
I saw Kathleen popped on video for a second. I don't know if she wanted to chime in. Hopefully she's still available.
If you have any amazing questions to ask, feel free.
I don't have any questions right now, right this second. But if I do, I will definitely let you know. I just wanted to chime in and just like listen and.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, didn't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess getting back into that last question, the off-market deals. Just to finish the broker thought I had, one of the cool tips I learned of, if you aren't like sure how to talk to brokers or whatever, and still kind of learning the language, it takes a little bit of time to be able to kind of talk the talk, which obviously helps you walk the walk. Just reach out to brokers in a market you couldn't care less about. Middle of the U.S., just like some secondary market, and just find a deal on LoopNet. Call that broker up and try to talk to him or her, and they might smell your BS that you maybe don't know enough. But if they don't smell it, maybe you're closer than you think. And just try that out a few times until you yourself feel comfortable. It's just a learning curve, and learning by doing is like the best way. So that's I always like that tip. It was really clever. I never thought to do that myself. It was kind of too late, but yeah, just go into a market you never heard of before, and the one that you don't even want to invest in, and just kind of practicing. Don't waste too much of one broker's time. Maybe they probably won't be able to anyways, but yeah, try that out. But for off market, I mean, the two kind of channels are really just mailers, which we don't have a ton of experience with, but our preferred method, if we were to go down this route, would probably just be calling. But the biggest hurdle in my mind is just the data you pull. You can kind of pull local data, and most of these owners are crafty and have their structure set up, and LLCs are really tight, and it's formed under an LLC, which you can't get their private info for. Hard to reach the actual owner, and you get whatever lawyer. So there's a lot of legwork there. But once you get that list of 1,000 addresses down to like whatever 30 to 80 to 100 or whatever, if you get the right list, it can definitely kind of reap a lot of rewards. But like Travis said, we focus on larger deals, and once you get it to like 80 to 100 plus units, we look at 100 units and up. Most times it's not going to be sold off market. They're going to want a broker representing them to make sure they get their best market price. So Parag's another one. Aside from LoopNet, is there another website to look for some brokers with multifamily listings? LoopNet is actually like a great just first step. So yeah, Crexy's good too. Thanks, Ari. But honestly, the right brokerages and the bigger ones will have their deals also on LoopNet. And the deals on LoopNet you probably won't close because they're just like everybody sees them. But you'll at least get the list of like what brokers are in the market. So you can go to whatever active listings, and instead of looking at that deal, just write down the names of who's on that, write down the brokerage, and get that list of whatever 5 or so brokerages. Usually 1 or 2 are doing like 80% of the deals in that market. So if you figure out which 2 those are, and just really kind of get to know them and get to have them like you and trust you, they can kind of help you along in the process. So yeah, LoopNet's good. Maybe not going to close a deal on there, in a high kind of success rate, but you can get the information of who's doing the deals in that market for sure.
Yeah, I'd say the best place is to get the emails from the brokers when they have a deal coming to market. And like they've touched on, going to LoopNet will get you those guys' emails. And once you start to build that email list, just ask to be on their circulation for when new deals hit the market. We've been added to like a lot of broker lists. We have like a little bit of a strategy. We'll say like, hey, like I know your partner over in this division over here. He suggested I reach out to you to get put onto your newsletter alerts when you guys have a new deal. Please keep me posted. With these brokers, you don't really want to ask. You just want to like imply like, hey, we look at a lot of deals in this area. You should probably send your deals to me. That's kind of the attitude you want to take with these brokers. They like that.
And I'm gonna drop. I did forget one link that I think is useful. It's called RCM. I'm trying to pull the actual link up. It's just rcm1.com. RCM Lightbox. What this is the brokers, and I would say like any serious broker in any serious market uses this website to source or to basically like start the base of their database. So they'll build their like buyers list through this website, because what happened was over time all these brokerages were kind of trying to build this big database, and then these guys, like a third party, kind of won out. So what'll happen is these guys are like the index for like if you want to buy a deal in this market, the brokers will go to this site, pull that list of who's interested in that market, and then that's how they'll kind of build the base. And obviously if you contact them directly, they'll add you to their list too. But if you go to RCM in the chat there, you can sign up. You can niche down all the way down to what specific market, what type of real estate. If you want to do multifamily, if you want to do commercial, retail, something else, whatever you want, you can pick all these criteria. And what'll happen is the brokers will eventually kind of pull this list, maybe whatever frequency, once a month or something. Eventually you'll get on their list. So that'll kind of be but a different approach too, to kind of be one and done with getting on most of the good brokers list too. So definitely check that out. Saves a couple clicks at least.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Dave, you should drop your podcast too, in case anybody wants to get a listen to that.
Oh yeah, I can definitely do that. In case you do want to hear me for more than today's hour, I drop shows weekly. Back when me and Travis got to know each other, I pretty much just started a podcast day one. and I just interview kind of the best and the brightest in the show, and I ask 5 questions at the end to kind of index what makes them successful in real estate. So it's been a pretty fun show to do. Really lucky to have done it for this long. It's a lot of work, but very, very rewarding. So I can definitely
Yeah, drop that link.
drop a link.
That's like an important part of our capital raising too. Like we have so many different systems that we run, but it's all in relation to us. Like what are we good at? What are we currently doing? And then how we can just get attention to our activities in real estate. So we think super long term. So like I knew when like Dave was starting this podcast, I knew it was super integral to our business long term. And it's a good way for us to meet partners, and especially a good way for our investors to take a look at our activity when they see like, how many episodes are you on? 200 something?
Oh, getting there. 173, almost.
Looks strong. You know, when we're consistent with our email newsletter, when we're consistent with a podcast, it just shows that we're in the game and we plan to be in the game forever, which is as an investor as well. I want to know that the group I'm with is committed, and nothing shows commitment like routine activity. All right, Ari wants to start it. Yeah, Dave is the master of podcasts. If anybody is starting a podcast, talk to Dave.
Yeah, I just dropped my my calendar for a call, Ari, if you want, and anyone else too. If whatever, like you're not really a fan of the kind of group meeting stuff, feel free to reach out. You know, I was, believe it or not, kind of a quieter guy. Still don't always love doing the talking in front of people, especially when it comes to like over Zoom. It's just not as fun as in person. But yeah, if you want to be in touch, just kind of one on one. You can check out my calendar there too, and we can definitely sort out whatever you got going on.
Sure. I'll definitely do that. Thank you for sharing that, Dave.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Definitely learned a lot of bumps and bruises on the way. So
Yeah, 170 something you said.
yeah, 173. Yep.
And let me ask you, maybe after 20, 30 iterations of that, what did you learn early on when you were doing that?
There's a lot of different kind of channels of learning for that show. The first thing was like kind of ready, fire, aim. So I just kind of decided I wanted to do it before I had any business doing a show. I invited a lot of very sophisticated investors who I didn't even hardly know how to keep up with for 30, 45 minutes on a show. I think I did pretty good looking back, but I hate those shows early on, probably like most podcasters or TV hosts or whatever, don't like their beginnings. But then like getting into it, I guess I just learned the biggest lesson I've learned over this show, the whole, 2+ years, is consistency. So I made 5 questions, and it's not a lightning round necessarily, but I asked 5 questions at the end of every show. I've asked them since the beginning of the show. And the first question is, if you can name one trait that explains your success, what is that trait and why? And 95% of the time, it's some iteration of consistency, like never giving up, whatever you want to call it. And it just served as a huge lesson for me, because I literally heard it from like the best and brightest every week, like just don't give up. So like anytime I was like really frustrated or like almost ready to like just kind of take a break or pivot or whatever, I was just like, I know it's right there, like just keep going. So honestly, the learnings I got directly from like literally talking to like these super talented and just nice people for 30 minutes times 170 is some ridiculous number, like 60 hours of 70 hours of 80 hours of time. It's been a lot for me to learn personally, so it's been also cool to share that with people. It's really kind of cool. I don't know, very unique.
No, I'm sure you
very
got
thankful for it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got a lot of aha moments. And then if you're
Yeah.
seeing the same thing repeating itself, especially at that last point about keep going,
Yeah.
it sounds like it serves as a motivation in itself. So when you're talking to someone from some big AUM company, what have you, it's like, wow, okay, they had maybe similar humble beginnings, or maybe similar or worse or harder challenges or obstacles. So that's why I actually like talking to people and enjoy hearing those things. But yeah, no, it sounds like it was a good thing that you did there. So
well, the cool thing is like talking to these successful people, everybody, once you've made it, it looks so easy. but it's not literally like that's like the Instagram version of their hustle, right? That was the Instagram version of
Yeah.
their struggles. So, you know, they were at our point, they were at everyone else's on this call, you know, they did the same thing. They started out at zero. So it was kind of cool to kind of see that on the background a little bit more than some people get to get sometimes. So yeah, it was definitely a nice, consistent reminder. Still is, honestly.
Yeah, I'll check it out. What would you name the podcast? What's the name of it? What's it
Yeah,
called?
I dropped a link, a Buzzsprout link, which you know you can sub it on whatever iTunes, Spotify,
Okay.
but it's called "Making Money in Multifamily." If you just search Dave
Okay.
Morja, you'll find me soon enough.
I'll add it to my list.
But yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a fun show. And I always tell people I want to bring whatever people want to the show. So if there's a certain topic or literally person, always looking for, you know, interest in any regard or feedback or whatever. So
Actually, you just brought something up for me. How do you get some of the maybe? How do you get some of your guests, and especially maybe in demand people that were like? I'm sure it takes it takes some legwork to do that.
yeah, so it's a lot easier now, obviously, as
Mhm.
most things get to be. Early on, you have to be very consistent with reach out, and I had to make sure I was set up and ready to go. And I say that like I need to make sure like I have my calendar schedule like ready to the T. Like I have like the Zoom setup ready. So like I have the procedure that these guys need to know, like ready to go. Like, hey, thanks for signing up. Like this is exactly what you need to know. So when we get on for the 45 minutes, you know exactly what needs to happen so we can get off and you can do the rest of your busy day. So I took like a lot of time to sort that out. You know, kind of back end stuff like make sure the schedule works, making sure like they get the procedure once they schedule, like all these little things, small details, but they add up very quickly. So that way when you know 1 billion AUM guy shows up to the call, he's totally ready. I ask him, you know, just in case, hey, did you happen to see those questions I ask at the end? Because sometimes they trip people up. He goes, yeah, I saw them. Thanks for giving them to me ahead of time. Like I liked reading them just to know, you know, just little things like that. Because once you book the guy or girl, like you want to make sure you do them right. Like
Right.
you don't want to just like kind of waste your time because then you'll never be able to talk to him again. So yeah,
Right.
just making sure you're extra ready for the interaction is the biggest thing. Um,
Mhm.
so a lot of little steps. I can fill you in on the on the 30 minutes. It's a bear, man, but it's easy now. Once you get it set up, it's not so bad. So, but nowadays, I mean, it's funny. There's like podcasting services. So these guys and girls can go out and request like a third party agency to get them on all these podcasts now. So I actually, since I have 170 shows, these agencies will come through and be like, hey, do you want so and so on the show? And here's their little bio. What do you think? And you know, I say no to some people just because it doesn't really fit the niche. You know, it's not necessarily multifamily. It's like flipping single family or whatever. And I'm like, no, thank you. But a lot of people are really in line with what we do. So it's super easy. I just say, yeah, here's my calendar, and they go, great. I'll get them sorted out, and they handle their end of things. And you know, a day, week, whatever later, whenever they figure out their calendar, I have a new email with a new calendar pop up and all that. So
Right.
it gets good, you know.
Yeah. And I'm sure throughout that process, you've grown your database quite a bit. And have you have an idea of, I'm sure, the avatar, the audience avatar? Is it mostly people like us aspiring or, up and coming, operators? Is it mostly investors or is it, real estate professionals?
Yeah, the
Is that pretty-
avatar,
Yeah.
I no, it's a good question because it's actually I I get that question a lot from the guests that come on, and I always appreciate that because it's better than them not asking that and just kind of doing. I've had guys where I misjudged the kind of interview and they just wanted to come on and do their pitch fest and leave and whatever. I try to steer them away from their talking points, but you can tell they had this one track and they just wanted to talk about this today, and I'm like, oh man, like I wish that went way better.
Right,
I've
right.
I've learned to reduce that happening, but that question is good because you got to know like kind of who it's for. I would say my show, it does assume that you've done a little bit of homework. I'm not saying that like I out talk everyone in the game, but I don't want to stop and pause and explain what cash on cash is just because it's a 30 to 40 minute show, and I want to make sure I can on the car ride get enough bang for your buck. So I always preface with that on for the guests, they don't have to like slow down and take some time to explain that. So I would say it's, you know, it's for someone who's in the game actively looking at multifamily. Maybe not your day one podcast necessarily, but like within a couple weeks, like you could easily learn that stuff. And me personally, I kind of didn't know any of those words, and I would just Google them as I listened to a show because I didn't know what it was. And then like in 2 weeks, you know exactly what's being talked about. So that's kind of where I stand on it. And I think with that, it's been nice because the conversations I have with the guests are usually kind of refreshing from what I hear. I don't pose any questions like ahead of time. It's just a conversation where I listen and they give kind of their answer and I pivot based on what they say and all these things. So I think it's a little more natural that way for us to just kind of riff about the business instead of, okay, let's put our hats on and pretend to talk about this in a really professional manner, you know? So I try to do more riffing than not, which I think people appreciate. But yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. Definitely a lot of fun though. Definitely recommend it. So yeah, hit me up after. We can definitely chat. Travis, you're up. I'm talking too much.
No, we're coming to like 15-2.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have much else more, and I don't want to like drag on unnecessarily just to hit like a time quota. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I'd pose that maybe we break for today and we could pick this up again next month. If anybody has any questions, please ask now. Or any suggestions, anything that you'd like for us to kind of touch on. But if not, we will kind of wrap very shortly. And yeah, thank you everybody for joining us, and we will email and hopefully see everybody at the next one.
Hey, I have a question, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marcus.
How long did it take for you guys to get your first deal from like the day you started doing the underwriting on the properties coming through your email?
Good question. So our first 3 deals were passive investments, and that took us probably like 6 months. So we invested in 1,200 units really before even like doing anything. We immediately like invested into the kind of stuff we wanted. But this most recent deal that we did, this is probably going on like total like maybe 4 years in the working. Does that sound about right? 3 or 4 years, Dave?
Yeah, I think 3. I think I haven't hit my 4-year anniversary of the city yet, so I think about 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's call
Wow.
it 3 years of hustle to get a deal done, and then it's just momentum. We plan to get the next deal done probably within the next quarter, and then the one after that, like really in quick succession. But yeah, it's all momentum. Real estate is all momentum.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's all the questions I have.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining us, and
Thank you guys.
have a great night. We look forward to seeing you guys at the next one.
Take care, guys.
All right, take care now.
Yeah, bye.